Hi everyone, Brian from Warpainting Services here once again for the next part of the Getting into Wargaming series. Uh, part 1 we covered what you need to begin, and part 2 we're going to cover, assuming you didn't get a game that already had pre-constructed models or things like that, we're going to talk about assembly. And in order to assemble your models, you need a few tools. Some sort of clipper to get them off the sprues, a tool to clean up the mold lines as well as the little sprue bits, and at the end also some glue in order to glue them together. And since we're dealing with plastic, I got some Testors liquid plastic cement here, which is really good to help keep them together. Of course, you also need the models, and if your models came with it, it also helps to have the instructions. And as you can see, there's some instructions here. And I'm going to start by working on the Liberator primes. As you can see, it's got instruction part A and part B, and it shows you all the part numbers and or names to make it easier for you to determine and find on your sprues what you need. Now, what you need to do is look at your sprues and find the parts that match what's being listed there. So A39. Alright, so A39 is this part, and this is sprue A. I don't know if you can see that very well, but this is sprue A, and this is part 39 right here. Let's see if I can fix that a little bit. You can barely see it, but this is part 39 right here. So that being the first part on the list of parts you need, you want to cut this out of the sprue. Now, your first thought would be to cut as close to the model as you can and get it off completely. But that can be difficult. That can be a problem, actually. In doing that, you do risk snapping off a little bit of plastic on the actual model itself. Also, if sometimes things are at a weird angle, you can't necessarily see the even if you turn it around, can't necessarily see very well where you're clipping. So, to help avoid doing that, it's best to start by giving yourself some extra room around the model. And clip some extra wiggle room, chunks around here, like that. So you got those extra bits hanging off. Now that you got those extra bits hanging off, it's easier for you to go in because you've got more room and more maneuverability, and clip close to the model, and you're a lot less likely to accidentally take bits you don't mean to off of a model. So you clean up really quick and easy there. Anyways, the next piece you need is A40, so I need to find A40 amongst these, which isn't hard to find. It's right here. And we'll do the same thing. Cut off the extra little bits around the model. Give yourself some wiggle room to make just in case. Once you got it free, you can go back and you cut it near the model, and it'll come off a lot cleaner. Now this does create a little bit of extra cleanup, but that's okay because a little bit of extra cleanup is worth keeping your model intact. And there's one more bit, A41. which is just a shield hanging out down to the bottom here. Sorry for doing this off camera. And once again, come back and clean it up. Make sure it's facing the right way. Clean up the bits. And that actually is, I believe, every piece that goes to the Liberator Primus, or Primes. Just 3 simple pieces. Alright? So the next step in the process here is that now you want to start going around the model and find and using a tool like this X-Acto knife. And I'm going to use the back of the X-Acto knife, unless it's little areas like that where you need the blade. I need to go around checking the model for mold lines. And you'll notice mold lines. There'll be little lines along like a cloak or a flat surface or something that doesn't look like it belongs on the model. Or leftover bits from the tab. And you can just use the back of the blade. Now I'm using a dull blade here. This blade's old and dull, so if you're going to be using the back of the blade, it's safer to have an old blade for that. Go around. And they did a really good job at keeping mold lines minimal on this thing. There might be some areas where you actually need to use the blade, like the top here. A little bit. You could also get a file and file down some of these as well. But this method is generally quicker and easier. There's a bit of a mold line down the center of this hammer here. I apologize. There's a bit of a mold line down the center of this hammer here. And if you just take and run the flat surface of the blade down it, you will remove the mold line, and it goes around the hammer a little bit. Just be careful not to, bend the hammer in the hand. Otherwise, you could remove it, and then you have to glue it back in place. Just go around, making sure you get every little bit, so that you will have a nice, clean miniature to put together. And when you paint it, you don't have to worry about those mold lines being there, looking ugly. Do this all the time. I love putting together miniatures. It's relaxing. It's more relaxing than painting is. Painting is fun, but it's not quite relaxing. Anyways, he is supposed to go on a 40mm base. However, I'm not gonna. Actually, you know what? Let's pull him. Let's pull out the base. If I can find 40mm. I believe it's the bigger ones in here. Unless I'm mistaken. I'm just going to double check real fast. Yeah. 40mm is the bigger bases. So it is the biggest base in here. It's 40mm. I believe there's only 2 sizes in here. Yeah, these are 40. These are 32. So now I have his base. Clean up his base a little if you want. Sometimes there's a little bit of stuff on the sides of it you have to clean up. But it's not that big of an issue right now. Anyways, now that he's cleaned up, you want to dry fit your models, which means don't put any glue on them first. You want to make sure your parts go together the way they're supposed to, like this. Now, all right, and let's make sure his shield goes on the way it's supposed to. Let's make sure we find the right arm, or right part of the arm. I am dropping him. Dropping him. Not a good idea. And this is why you dry fit, because I'm not sure how this actually goes on. And I am also not 100% positive I grabbed the right shield, which is one of the reasons why you dry fit. Because if you don't have the right piece, you go back and look for it. Now, find him in the instructions again. Make sure that's the right piece. Well, according to this piece, it was 41A. And that is the piece I cut off. And the picture looks like the shield's doing this sort of pose. Maybe it's like that. You can always pull it away from there and get a better look at it this way, too. Alright, that looks like it actually is how it's supposed to fit on there. Okay. So anyways, after you dry fit and make sure everything is going to go together, you can take your plastic glue and it might take a minute to come out in a thing like this, but this is I have an applicator end that's really, really useful. There's different ways you can get this sort of glue. As I said, it might take a second to come out. And it doesn't seem to want to, but that's okay. And double check. Got a little thing here that you stick down the nozzle to clean it out. Like a little wire. It's right down in there. It's pretty stiff. Alright, it's coming out now. So, you don't need a lot. A little bit on that side. A little bit in there. And I'm going to stick these two pieces together first, since they seem to not like. I just hold them together, and after a second, it should be stuck. And hopefully this can go together pretty simply. Just put the glue along the edges that connects down here a little bit, up around down here, back here a little bit. Okay, down underneath. And you can do it on this side as well, just a little bit. Do it lightly. If you do it too much, you can have it seep out, and that can damage the model. Anyways, since we dry fitted, we do know these pieces go together correctly. You just push it together like that. And you're going to need to give it probably at least an hour to dry. And I'm going to do a little bit different with his feet. I'm going to score his feet. Just take your X-Acto blade and go like a checkered-like pattern. You almost always want to do that if it's metal models, but this helps give it a little bit extra surface, a little bit extra grip. Helps it melt a little bit better. And just place them down right on the base. And the base is made of the same material, even though it's a different color. So the plastic glue will work in that too. And he's done. So there. Your first Age of Sigmar model or whatever model you happen to be working on. Let's try to so is done. And after you give him time to let the glue cure, you can then prime him and paint him. Anyways, those are my tips for now for assembly, and everyone take care. I will be back soon with more steps in this, and hopefully I can, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and I can cover them in a future part. Anyways, take care.